So let's get to your story, but the first question I have to start with is, were you a fan of Solo before you had the opportunity to write your story?
I was a fan of L3-37.
Okay.
And because I'm a big fan of L3-37, I'm not as big of a fan of Solo, a Star Wars story, because of what happens to her in that movie. It really made me sad. It upset me. I read Last Shot by Daniel Jose Older before I saw Solo, so I got I got more L3-37. I went to see Solo wearing like my L3-37 t-shirt that said droid rights on it. Like I was ready. And then I just sat in the movie theater and they shot her up and then uploaded her into the Falcon, and then Lando lost the Falcon, so they just could never be partners again. And it just made me really sad.
Which is why your story is so fantastic. And you know, I always feel funny when I tell somebody that I'm interviewing, because I've interviewed some and I haven't been able to say it. I understand.
This is a safe space. This is a safe space between you and I and all of your viewers.
But what's so amazing about your story, so real short summary, basically it's called Faith in an Old Friend. I would call it a love story as well, because it creates, so what are the other two? There's three consciousnesses, if that's a word, right?
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about your story.
No, you're good. No, it's like I've like drilled them into my brain, because I'm like, people are going to ask me about this and I need to remember what all the droid brains names are. So there are three droid brains that are that make up the central computer of the Millennium Falcon. We have L3-37. We have ED4, who was a corporate slicer droid, and then we have V5T, who's like the standard transport droid brain that all Corellian freighters get. And the story is from their perspective. So you experience The Empire Strikes Back, but from within the brain of the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah. So the key scenes on the Falcon with Leia and Han, and I don't want to give any away because it's so good, but you create a scene or two on Bespin that I want them to go back and shoot. I want that. I want to see that reaction, because again, without giving too much away, I mean, we know that at some point Lando had to interact with the Falcon because he promised to repair it, right? And that's about all I really want to say. I mean, I want to say all about it, but it's it's a fun story that you have to read, because what you've done is, and it's really impressive because you don't have a history of fiction and in writing a lot of fiction, right? But you deliver. You're able to deliver the sort of the intensity of some of the scenes. There's humor. You capture. It's hard to capture the humor of not just L3-37, but the actress who played her, who really Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who brought personality to it. And then you had to create two personalities to work with her. And by the way, bringing Treadwell in is that's from the beginning of Empire 2, right? Where he's walking across the Falcon. Okay, awesome. All right, see, I picked it all up. So good. But I think, so how did you go about writing? What was the process? Did you watch the movie over and over again? How did you come up with the story? And what were some of your parameters? Because I imagine, having spoken to some of the other authors, there's a process to being able to pitch what story you want to do. So maybe tell me a little bit about that.
So basically, when you get invited to join the anthology, you can, the first thing you need to do is pick your character, and then you need to pitch them your story. So immediately after I got the invitation, I told my agent, I was like, yes, we're doing it. This is happening. We're doing it. Just let them know. And then the next thing I did, maybe, 15, 20 minutes later, I was like, can you ask them if I can do L3-37 / the Falcon? Ask them if I can do that. So they were like, sure. And I was like, great, I got it. Yes, we're doing it. And it they sent the contract. I was like, yes, L3-37, we're getting it. And then I realized I was about to write an entire short story about a character who can actually do nothing.
Right.
I was like, right. Okay, great. Thankfully, I could bounce some of my ideas off of Elizabeth Schaefer, who's one of the editors for the anthology. Because I had a bunch of ideas. I was like, oh, and then the Falcon's going to hack into Lobot, and then it's going to be this and that. And they were like, you can't do that. I was like, but then I was like, well, maybe they could do this. And they were like, you can't. It can't do that. That's not something that the Falcon does in movies, so you can't do that. And I finally got like the pitch settled. I watched the specific scenes that I referenced. I watched those scenes over and over and over again. And then I watched just like L3's stuff from Solo to get the voice in my head. And sometimes it feels like, so here's my cheat. Because I'm trained as an actor, I have all this education and experience behind taking words on a page and turning them into a person. So it just feels easy to take a person and translate them into words on a page. And like as I was writing the dialogue, I just could hear Phoebe Waller-Bridge's voice in my head. It's weird, but I could just hear her. So that made all the lines come out great. And I thought, okay, for ED4 and V5T, what would be the most interesting contrast to give a big personality like L3-37? So yeah, and it's like, if we had to spend time in a dark room with three people, what are the three most interesting people we could spend time with in that room? And of course, like I couldn't have them sound like C-3PO. I had to make Treadwell sound different. And I went on this whole tangent of like, well, Treadwell is a Treadwell droid. And they used to use those during like on Republic ships and like on cruisers and stuff. So he's probably like older and like weird. Han probably picked him up in like a junk lot and was like, I need a droid to repair my ship and I don't have a lot of money, so what you got? So kind of adding that in there. With ED4, I thought about what would a corporate espionage droid, what would that voice sound like? And with V5T, it was like, well, this is the first droid brain that was put in the ship. It's just there to like drive the ship. What is just like, all she's there to do is drive. So what would her voice develop like? And I took the idea that L3-37 is a self-made droid in a way. She's like very self-actualized. And how could she translate that desire and passion for droids to recognize their own selfhood? How could she keep that when she's enclosed in this space with two other droid brains? And at the end of the Solo novelization, which I also read, it's like they go through the explanation of like what it's like when L3 gets uploaded into the Falcon and like how she goes from like thinking in words to thinking in binary, and it makes it seem like she's being absorbed completely. And I was like, I don't want to let that be the last word on that. So it's like, well, just as much as the being within the Falcon may have changed L3, L3 being there also changed the Falcon's central computer and how it understood itself.
Yes.